How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Crypto ZX channel. Appreciate you guys as always. You guys know exactly what time it is. We're going to be analyzing and taking a look at XRP, understanding what's happening with the price, and of course what is yet to come. If you guys are enjoying these XRP updates, smash that like button. But looking across the board, we're seeing quite a bit of red across the board over the last 24 hours alone. Since our last update, we have seen market tumble back towards the downside. So what's causing this? Again, if you watched my update pretty much since the beginning of this week, literally Sunday, as we were going into a brand new week, your boy Crypto ZX has been quite clear on what I personally think I literally highlighted. We are going to be expecting a lot of volatility this week, and that is exactly what we're witnessing since the start off this week. We're seeing Bitcoin pretty much all over the place, some external factors obviously impacting the crypto markets as well as the traditional equity market. But we are seeing a lot of volatility coming in, and tomorrow is the FOMC meeting, of course, the day of the decision whether or not we're going to see a rate cut. As far as the majority of the market is concerned, majority of the market thinks we're not going to see a rate cut, but we'll see what happens. Is the market going to bounce up the day of? Because before the meeting itself, the day before, you're already starting to see the market tumbling towards the downside. XRP down about 5.3% over the course of the last 24 hours, also down about 2.7% in Bitcoin comparative price at $2.15, valuation at 126.7 billion, and the 24-hour trading volume at about $3.7 billion. But before we get into any further, as always, just a quick disclaimer: anything on this channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research when you are investing in crypto. So the Genius Act passes the Senate in 51-23 vote, and now it's moving to the House. Believe it or not, a big step in the right direction for the crypto markets. And obviously, once this really becomes a reality, this will just revolutionize, I think, the entire digital space. But moving forward, speaking about rate cut tomorrow, I really wanted to kind of share this with you guys. So global central banks are cutting rates. World central banks cut interest rates 15 times in May, the fastest monthly pace this year. This also marks one of the largest waves of rate cuts this century. To put this into perspective, in March 2020 and December 2008, central banks conducted 50 and 29 rate cuts respectively. Last week, Europe cut rates for the 8th time this cycle. Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve continues to pause rate cuts as global banks cut. Uncertainty is shifting monetary policy, and of course, Canada as well has seen quite large amounts of rate cuts since last year. So what's really causing this? Obviously, there's like the debt ratios that people usually don't consider, and that's obviously like economists and Jerome Powell. These guys know what they're talking about. They're not just going to come in rate cut. They look at a lot of numbers, CPI numbers, and as well as of course the debt numbers. But there, in my opinion, there has to be a little bit of a rate cut at this point, considering what's happening globally. But again, I'm not an economist, so I don't really understand where these guys come. But again, if you're looking at the broader world, there has been quite some rate cuts happening. A lot of people compare Japan and the U.S. because Japan debt is literally through the roof as well. So of course in the U.S. it's very similar situation happening. So could that really be the causing factor? Which again is a really good point to be bringing out, because of course both countries actually have not seen a rate cut. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. I do expect, obviously, if there was a rate cut happening, I personally think the market will bounce. But even if there was not a rate cut, compared to last time, when we did see that FOMC meeting, if you recall, people, go into the meeting thinking the day of you're going to see the market just pretty much tumbling towards the downside if there was no rate cut. But, actually the day of last FOMC meeting, the market actually picked up. So could this be already, people getting prepared in the market, preparing for itself for a no rate cut, and then tomorrow the market bounces? We'll see what happens. That is something I want you guys to be aware of when we're analyzing the markets. Treasury Secretary Basint says, crypto stable coins can lower government borrowing costs and reduce national debt. So the Genius Act passed. Documents reveal what it means for RLUSD and XRP. RLUSD gains credibility. The new law requires stablecoins to meet strict reserve and audit standards. RLUSD is expected to comply, making it more attractive to institutions. XRP utility increases. RLUSD runs on the XRP ledger. Every transaction burns a small amount of XRP, reducing supply. As RLUSD adoption grows, so does demand for XRP. Regulatory clarity for XRP. While XRP isn't a stable coin, operating within regulated systems will strengthen its case as a utility token. Better position against CBDCs, with clear rules now in place, RLUSD and XRP can compete more directly with central bank digital currencies for institutions to use. And speaking about bank digital currencies, as we know, JP Morgan, one of the largest banks globally, is also going after their own stablecoin, which again is so funny to me because these guys were, the ones that, never supported crypto to begin with. And now these guys are coming on board and, actually launching their own coin, which is again, really funny. But Brad Gurlinghouse says, for years, crypto companies have been calling on Congress to pass crypto legislation and set rules of the road. This is the first major financial bill since Dodd-Frank, the first crypto bill to pass in the Senate, which moves to the House. A truly historical moment. Thank you, Senator Tim Scott, Senator Haggerty, and of course, so on and so forth for their leadership. And Open Eden also posted in 2024, we partnered with Ripple to become the first tokenized U.S. Treasuries launched on the XRP ledger. Ripple's investment in RT-Bill tokens highlights their confidence in the future of RWAs on-chain. Together, we're bridging TradeFi and DeFi. Now, if you're looking at the price, as far as the dominance is concerned, if you're looking at it on the hourly perspective, you're looking at the dominance, picking up once again, heading up to the 65% mark. If you're looking at BTC, Bitcoin actually, got rejected at that range, of course, at the $109,000. And since then, Bitcoin price has just been going down and actually wicked down to $103,568. So speak about volatility right in front of us. This is something that you don't really want to be ignoring. So if you're looking at BTC, obviously there's some external factors, that are happening globally that's having an impact on, the crypto markets. That's something that we need to factor in as well. But you did see the price of BTC fall down to $103,343, but have seen a little bit of a bounce since then. XRP, on the other hand, is still in the 38.2, had a beautiful bounce yesterday, of course, with Bitcoin, it doesn't matter what the dominance is doing. XRP did wick back up to that $2.34, which was a clear rejection. Continues to show us, how important that level really is to break at, because that pretty much, would make us go back up to the 23.6 if we're able to turn that into support. So we have seen XRP see a retracement as to be expected. Anyone that's surprised, I want you guys to take a look at what's happening with BTC, but we've seen about an 8% pullback. So again, kind of in correlation to the broader market. So far, so good still. I like what I'm seeing here, still in the 38.2. But let me know down below what you guys think about all the things that are happening and where do you see the price of XRP closing the month of June. Love you all. See you later. Been Crypto ZX and peace out.